We're talking about leases, whichever way you look at it. If you're involved in property in any way, shape or form, then leases are the bedrock of what you're going to have to deal with. They underpin the value of any investment. They determine the nature and extent of what your obligations are going to be as landlord or tenant. And they are absolutely critical in establishing you as a commercial property owner, as a retailer, as a residential occupier, as an office tenant. In all ways, shapes and forms, leases are absolutely critical. And where we start off normally in the commercial environment is with a set of heads of terms. And increasingly, I'm finding that we've got a much more pragmatic attitude to property these days. If we get a situation where a client rings me at 4 o'clock and says, I've got an empty retail unit, I've got a tenant who wants to move in this evening, wants to start trading first thing on Saturday morning, I've got heads of terms agreed, what should I do? Very often my advice to that landlord is going to be, move the tenant in and we'll sort things out later. Now, that is going to then be dependent on what's in the heads of terms. And whilst these aren't necessarily legal documents, whilst they're very often caveated with the normal things about without prejudice, subject to contract and all sorts of things, once they're there, and particularly if the tenant has been allowed in either to fit the premises out or is already occupying the premises, what's in the heads of terms can be critical and can make raise all sorts of issues. So the heads of terms, I'm not trying to build up the lawyer's part in saying this, but they are very often agreed without any kind of legal input, and that more often than not, that is fine, because most landlords know exactly what they're doing. They're perfectly capable of dealing with a set of heads of terms without any help from people like myself. But sometimes it is important to make sure that certain things don't creep in. Now, the second point there on the slide refers to the fact that some retailers that we have come across are seeking to include unusual provisions in heads of terms. They normally accompany a set of heads of terms which may be 6 or 7 pages long, and not to put too fine a point on it, they're hidden away in the small print.